This is Rick Yamamoto. You're watching Payton Priv TV. こんにちは、山本凛太郎です。Payton Priv TV へようこそ。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Payton Priv TV. I'm Payton Privitera.
And I'm Jack Tongour.
And we're coming to you here live from Waterville, Maine, on campus at Colby College.
Go Mules!
Bringing you the season premiere of the second season of Payton Priv TV. First off, I'd like to say thank you all for being with us for such a wonderful first season. All the love and support went such a long way, and thank you all for getting us past such milestones as 300 subscribers. But don't kid yourselves, we're only just getting started.
Yeah, that's right, Payton. It's October, and that means one thing: playoff baseball. This season in the MLB, there were 4 teams with over 100 wins and record-breaking home run totals. With that in mind, we're in store for an exciting postseason.
First off, we're going to start by talking about the American League. Now, in the American League wildcard round, we have the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Oakland Athletics. Now, with the competition that there was in the American League this season, these two teams had to scratch, claw, and absolutely kill themselves just to make the playoffs. Jack, what do you think we're going to see from these two squads in this one-game wildcard playoff round?
Well, Payton, this is going to be an interesting matchup. These teams couldn't be more different. The Athletics' strength is definitely hitting, while the Tampa Bay Rays are much more reliant on the pitching. The Tampa Bay Rays are going to be putting out Charlie Morton as their starter. He's posted a 3.05 ERA and an impressive 1.08 WHIP. On top of all that, his experience in the postseason, especially his time on the Astros, in key situations is going to be critical for them in this wildcard game. On the Athletics side, they have yet to post their starter. We can sit here and speculate about who that's going to be, but in my opinion, I think it should be Sean Manaea. While Sean's missed most of the season, in the 5 games he's played, he's posted a 4-0 record with a minuscule 1.21 ERA. And with a solid track record like his, I think it's a no-brainer.
Well, I certainly agree with you there, Jack. I think Manaea is the clear-cut choice for the Oakland A's going into this wildcard round. But there's one more interesting point I'd like to talk about for the Tampa Bay Rays. You see, the Rays this season made the playoffs despite having the lowest payroll in all of baseball. I mean, this is a really cool story. We could see like a St. Louis Blues-style miracle here. I think if they can beat the Oakland A's now, and then possibly do some damage against the Houston Astros in the second round, this could be one of the greatest stories in baseball history.
Well, Payton, I don't know about the Astros, but what's interesting to note is teams on the other end of the spectrum, like the #1 payroll in all of baseball, the Boston Red Sox, sorry Payton, did not make the cut this year.
This shows that in baseball, you don't need to buy a roster anymore. If you have the farm system and the young guys who are willing to go in, put in the work, and play that level of baseball, anything is possible, and you don't have to go out and buy a roster.
Also, smart GMing, picking up veteran players who other teams might have overlooked.
Absolutely.
What team do you think is going to be taking home the AL wildcard?
I see the Tampa Bay Devil Rays coming away with this game. How about you?
You know, for me, it's a flip of the coin. I think it really depends on who the Athletics put out there as a starter. But my gut says Rays as well.
Now, Jack, I think this first round matchup here in the American League between the New York Yankees and the Minnesota Twins is going to be an absolute heavyweight bout. Both teams this year had over 100 wins. They ranked first and second in most single-season home runs for a team of all time. And between the Bronx and the Twin Cities, the bats are just absolutely flying this year.
Well, that's true, Payton, but at the same time, these teams are very reliant on their home run ball. One potential weakness for both these teams is their rotation. They've been plagued by injuries and also some expulsions like that of Domingo Germán, rookie for the Yankees.
It's interesting that you bring that up about Germán. You see, Germán was suspended for use of performance-enhancing drugs, and by MLB rule, if you get a PED suspension during the regular season, you are not allowed to play at all in the postseason. Also, you bring up how injury-plagued the Yankees were. We saw studs like Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, many others go down for the Yankees, and somehow they pulled it together and pulled through and won 103 games this year, despite having over 2,300 of a stat that is called man games lost, meaning games missed by injured players.
Well, Payton, the Twins aren't too shabby either. They boast the bat of Nelson Cruz, who racked up an impressive 41 home runs, 1.031 OPS. Payton, that OPS is higher than everyone else in the American League except for one player. You know who that player is? Mike Trout. The guy can rank. Sano, Kepler, Rosario, all these guys 30 plus home runs. This team, what are they doing to the balls, Payton? I don't even
they're
know.
certainly mashing them. I think with such a potent offense and a defense, that can be put on the back of a pitcher like Jose Barrios, I think the Twins are going to be a very tough team in these playoffs.
Payton, the reason I have the Twins inching out the Yankees in this series is because of their three top starting pitchers. Jake Odorizzi, Jose Barrios, and another young pitcher by the name of Randy Dobrik. Have you heard of him, Payton?
No, I haven't, Jack.
Well, you probably should. This September call-up has posted a 1.59 ERA. While he's not really a tested pitcher, it's not a bad start.
Not at all. That's very impressive. I think he's going to do great things here in these playoffs.
The Yankees have definitely benefited from some young bats like Gleyber Torres, but I think their biggest pickup this year, the biggest difference maker, has to be DJ LeMahieu. The man was batting .327, I don't know how he does it, and added to his power numbers. In the postseason, he's going to need to be on for them to win.
Now, the Minnesota Twins, this season, they had a historic season. They scored the most home runs of any team in a single season of all time with 307. Now, I think this series is going to absolutely be a close one. It's going to be a dogfight, and it could possibly go all 5 games. But due to the phenomenal relief pitching we've seen from them during this regular season, and the proverbial wild card of the injury return of heavy hitter Giancarlo Stanton, I think the Bronx Bombers are going to have just enough in the tank to beat the Minnesota Twins and move on to the second round.
In all likelihood, this is going to be a high-scoring matchup, but I think the Twins might just have what it takes to pull away from the Yankees.
Right. Now, lest we forget, this is a farewell season for Yankees legend CC Sabathia. I think there's going to be a lot of motion in the air down there at Yankee Stadium.
For sure.
That's definitely going to play a factor here in this series. I see the Yankees walking away with this and moving on to the second round. When you look at a team like this Houston Astros team, they are just built to win championships. They have showed us that they have what it takes by going all the way and winning 2 seasons ago. And last season, were it not for a collision course with the then surging Boston Red Sox, the Astros possibly could have won it again were it not for those damn Red Sox.
Oh, those damn Red Sox.
But this Astros team is built to win championships. This year, the Astros were the regular season champions by winning 107 games. With the strong starting pitching we've seen, guys like Ryan Presley coming out of the bullpen, and strong hitting and fielding, anchored by guys like Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, bolstered by guys we haven't seen in the past, like the rookie sensation, Yordan Alvarez. This Astros team is going to be extremely tough to get past these playoffs, and are an extremely safe bet for you to pick on deciding who you think is going to win the World Series.
Hey, don't forget about George Springer.
That's right. George Springer was the MVP 2 seasons ago when the Astros won the World Series against the LA Dodgers. He is a force to be reckoned with once again this season.
Oh, for sure. The Houston Astros have a phenomenal lineup, but on top of that, their starting rotation is undoubtedly the best in baseball. They boast a 3-headed dragon of Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, and Zach Greinke. Now, both Cole and Verlander are super hot coming into this postseason. Cole just won the American League Pitcher of the Month award with a 1.07 ERA, and he just set the record for consecutive games with double-digit strikeouts, with 9. I don't see how anyone can beat this team.
I mean, they're tough this year. They're tough. We're going to take a quick break for some station identification. We're going to hear a few words from the genius behind Marissa On Deck baseball coverage on Instagram, Marissa Lavezzari, and we're going to come right back with our thoughts on the National League.
I'm Brian Riley, and you're watching Payton Priv TV.
Hello, I'm Marissa Lavezzari from Orange County, California, and I'm here to talk about postseason baseball for the Dodgers, so let's get started. The Dodgers have officially completed their 2019 regular season with 106 wins, breaking their franchise record of 105 wins in a single season. After clinching the National League division for the 7th year in a row, the Dodgers have clinched home field advantage to the NLCS and will start their 2019 postseason journey on October 3rd against the winner of the wildcard game. To ensure a successful postseason, manager Dave Roberts has tested out his bullpen and potential starting lineup. Looking ahead to the World Series and assuming that the Dodgers will make it there for their 3rd straight appearance, both the Astros and Yankees will be a tough opponent for Los Angeles. However, if the Dodgers stick to playing small ball and not trying to swing for the fence at every at-bat, and the pitchers do a final tune-up of their pitches, Los Angeles will be coming home with the World Series championship. Thank you for listening, and cheers to October baseball.
And we're back. We're here to talk about the National League playoffs. Now, Jack, what's on your mind right now?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Payton. If you haven't noticed, I've been sporting my Juan Soto t-shirt, and I've got my trusty Washington Nationals cap. And, well, that's because I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm a dedicated Nationals fan. But hey, I'm not biased.
That's right. Now, speaking of your Washington Nationals, they actually have to play a one-game wildcard playoff against the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, what do you see happening in that playoff game?
Well, Payton, in Washington, we have a matchup between Brandon Woodruff and the Nats ace, Max Scherzer. I saw this man with my own two eyes pitch a gem of a game with a broken nose. This guy is tough as nails. He's just the guy that the Nationals need in the wildcard game.
Now, I can't disagree with you there. Scherzer is a bona fide phenom. We've seen what he's capable of here in Major League Baseball. But I want to talk about these two teams' backgrounds a little bit. You see, they both had to face a decent amount of adversity to get to where they are. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, it was dire straits earlier this month when they lost MVP candidate Christian Yelich to a leg injury, losing him for the duration of these playoffs. But what they were able to do without him was win 12 of their last 14 games, securing their spot in the postseason.
Yeah, it sort of makes you wonder. You'd figure without Yelich, they wouldn't be a team that could compete, but they're showing everyone that they can.
I think that's a testament to the coaching, the pitching staff, and the way that they play team baseball.
In my lifetime, I've seen the Washington Nationals come from Montreal to Washington, and in that time, they have made the postseason 4 times. Every single time, they have been eliminated in the first round. And some of these games have been incredibly close, and as a Washington Nationals fan, it completely breaks your heart every year to see them go, oftentimes being clear favorites to even win the World Series and fall short. This year is different, however. This year is their very first wild card appearance, and I think it's actually going to be quite an advantage if they can make it past the first round. They're going into the wild card game with 7 straight wins and the best record in the National League since May 24th. This team is hot. Hot, hot, hot. This lineup is very different than lineups we've seen in the past from the Nationals. They went ahead and picked out a bunch of veteran players who made a huge impact on this team. Howie Kendrick and Kurt Suzuki, both of those players have been raking. Now, the Nats recently picked up Asdrubal Cabrera, who's actually a former Nat. Gerardo Parra has been a kind of a spark plug off the bench. The cornerstones of this lineup have to be Anthony Rendon, Juan Soto, and Trey Turner. Young phenom Juan Soto, only 20 years old, already in his second season, and hitting much better than the player he replaced, Bryce Harper. He has incredible patience at the plate and is cool in the most intense situations. He's the guy the Nats will need in the big moments. Rendon is a superstar and arguably the MVP of the National League. Rendon has always been solid for the Nationals. His numbers speak for themselves. Batting .319, OPS of 1.01, and 34 home runs. But I think the stat that most jumps out is MLB leading 126 RBIs. I think he deserves to be the MVP. One other aspect of the Nationals I want to touch on is the rotation. The Nationals picked up Patrick Corbin, who's been lights out for them this season, as well as Steven Strasburg, who in the end of the season has had quite a resurgence. And back to the wild card game matchup, it's actually kind of an interesting decision to start Scherzer in this position because Scherzer's actually coming back from injury, and in his last few starts, in his last seven games, he's posted a 4.74 ERA, a little uncharacteristic for Scherzer, giving up some home runs, while Woodruff is posting a 2.62 ERA, which is actually better than he normally is. So I would say the Brewers are playing the hot hand here, but I think the Nats are going with their guy for a high leverage situation. What the Nats have as a advantage in this game is both Corbin and Strasburg in relief. Now, Brewers have the bullpen edge with Josh Hader, who's been just incredible for them. The Nats don't have a lights-out guy like that. Their bullpen has actually been what they most struggled with this season, and could potentially hamper them in the postseason, if anything. Payton, who do you have taking the NL wildcard game?
I mean, if you're giving me Scherzer in a one-game playoff, I'm taking him. I think the Washington Nationals are gonna win this a wild card game and then advance on to play in the first round of the playoffs.
You know, I hate to agree with you, Payton, but I think I might have to.
Next, we're going to talk about a clash between division champions here between the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, Jack, what can we see between these two teams in the National League Playoffs first round?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think this is going to be a clash of two impact players. For the Cardinals, star pitcher Jack Flaherty, and for the Braves, Ronald Acuna, the spark plug of this Braves offense. The decision to put Ronald Acuna, despite his power numbers, in the leadoff position has benefited the Braves immensely. The Braves will need Acuna to be at 100% if they want to go deep into this postseason.
Right, I'm talking here about the Braves. I just want to bring up that they have a starting rotation who can go. They have Keuchel, who is absolutely dangerous come playoff time. And also they have the young rookie Mike Soroka, who had a phenomenal regular season. I think he's going to be capable of great things this year.
2.25 ERA.
That's right.
He's in the conversation for the Cy Young. I definitely think he is.
Yeah. He's going to be dangerous. Keuchel's going to be dangerous. This Braves team, in terms of the pitching and the defense, are going to be a force to be reckoned with throughout this series. Also, it's interesting now for the Cardinals. With Wainwright, the Cardinals most likely are going to shift him into the bullpen. This is a change for him. But I think it's a chance for him to show up and show out in a complementary role and be, a hero and help his team in a new way. Now, you got to remember now, this season, the Cardinals have Paul Goldschmidt. You know, Paul Goldschmidt of Arizona Diamondback fame.
Yeah, well, it was a good pickup for the Cardinals, I'd say. He really isn't performing with the same numbers he did, but he's definitely an integral part of this team, and I think he's starting to get into his prime years, and I think that he could potentially show up this postseason.
Now, like you say, he hasn't had his best regular season numbers this year, but I think he's the type of player that we call clutch, that he's going to show up in the big moments and possibly be a key player for the Cardinals in these playoffs. Now, Jack, who do you see walking away with this first round series?
For me, this is a no-brainer. It's got to be the Braves. I've seen the Braves play enough in the NL East that somehow they find ways to win games. Some would call it luck, but you don't get to 97 wins with just luck.
Right, and in this series, I think I'm going to take the St. Louis Cardinals. They're a team.
Really?
They're constantly in it. I mean, look at their history. In the past 20 years, they've been to 3 World Series. They're a team that come playoff time is tough to beat, and that's why I'm running with them for this series. Now this season, the Dodgers had a historic season, winning a franchise record 106 games. This Dodgers roster is absolutely fraught with players you can count on in the clutch at the plate in the moments that count, like Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy, Chris Taylor, Jock Peterson, Justin Turner, Corey Seager, David Freese, and the one and only Kiki Hernandez.
But don't forget about pitching, Payton.
Oh, I absolutely can't. Dude, this Los Angeles Dodgers starting rotation is unstoppable. That's the number 1. You got Hyunjin Ryu, the star. Number 2, you got Clayton Kershaw, who continues to be practically the Tom Brady of baseball. With the way his quality of play is continuing to improve at his increasing age is incredible. And then you got the young kid Walker Buehler and the hometown boy Rich Hill. And then, coming out of the bullpen, you got Kenta Maeda, who just recently moved up to the bullpen, and reigning defending World Series champion, ex-Red Sox, Joe Kelly.
Oh, Joe Kelly. There we go. Well, what might be the most interesting story of MLB this season is the performance of Hyunjin Ryu and his comeback. His ERA was definitively floating below 2 for the majority of the season. This was a player who was kind of viewed as a has-been, to be honest. And he showed up and shocked the entire MLB to show that a veteran can really still kick it. Now, I think the key for Kershaw is he can't be postseason Kershaw this time around. He's got to be regular season Kershaw. For those of you who don't know, Kershaw is the pitcher of this generation. But for whatever reason, he struggles in the postseason. If the Dodgers want to get over their 31-year hump, they're going to need him to show up.
One interesting detail that we should talk about for this Los Angeles Dodgers team is how injury-plagued they were this season. Obviously not as badly as the New York Yankees per se, but they had their fair share of injuries. Guys like Freese, guys like Kiki, guys you need to count on were not available this season. But what they were able to do, like our dear friend Marissa told us earlier, where they called up their AAA players and rookies and youngsters, and those guys were able to play ball and hang with the boys and string together enough games and wins to bring them into this position they're in now, where they have home field throughout the National League playoffs.
Payton, do you think there's any team in the NL that can potentially stop this Dodgers powerhouse?
Now, we all know back in early July, my prediction was that the Los Angeles Dodgers would beat the New York Yankees in 6 games in the World Series. And to be honest, I'm probably going to stand by that prediction. The Los Angeles Dodgers are an extremely strong team all around and a pretty safe bet to put your money on. However, as my usual co-star would say, this is the MLB playoffs. Anything can happen. And that's why they play the game. Speaking of my usual co-star,
how you doing, Payton? This is Phil Privitera here at the Maine studios here in Morningside, Arlington, Massachusetts for Payton Priv TV. And for the 2019 Major League Baseball prediction show, for the wild card games in the National League, we have the Milwaukee Brewers versus the Washington Nationals. And the Nationals are playing at home. They have great starters, a little shaky on the relief side, but with the home advantage, I'm going to go with the Nationals, the Washington Nationals, on the National League wild card game. For the American League, there's Tampa Bay versus the Oakland A's. And for whatever reason, I'm going to run with Tampa Bay. They're playing on the road, but I just have a hunch that Tampa Bay is going to win the wild card game in the American League. Now for the National League Division Series, okay, you're going to start out with the Cardinals versus the Braves, and I'm leaving this one as a toss-up. I really am. But for whatever reason, maybe it's old Boston and the Boston Braves, I'm going to say that the Atlanta Braves are going to win this series. But on the other side, you're going to have the Dodgers facing the winners of the Milwaukee or Nationals series. I picked the Nationals. I think the Dodgers facing off head-to-head against the Nationals, you got to go with the Dodgers. They have incredible pitching, straight down the line. You got Kershaw, Hyun-Jin Ryu, you got Walker Buehler, they picked up Joe Kelly, they got Maeda. The pitching is just phenomenal. And the lineup is stocked. Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy. We've talked about the Dodgers lineup time and time again on this show, and I'm sticking with them. I think the Dodgers have an incredible shot to go to the finals and to win this thing. We will talk further about the Dodgers later on in my predictions, but coming out of this one, I see the Dodgers beating either Milwaukee or the Nationals, depending on who wins that game. Now for the ALDS, you have the winner of the Tampa Bay Oakland A's series, which I predicted Tampa. And they will be facing Houston. And Houston is a powerhouse. I'm going to just go out on a limb here and just say player for player, Houston has the best roster of any team in the postseason. Pitching, they got Derek Cole, who's a possible Cy Young winner right there. Justin Verlander, another possible Cy Young winner. You got Greinke. I just think that Houston versus Tampa, and no disrespect to Tampa, I love the team, I love the city, great fans, but I think Houston is going to take it over Tampa. On the flip side of the ALDS series, you got the Twins facing off against the New York Yankees. And on this one here, got to go with the Bronx Bombers on this one. You got Chapman and Green in the bullpen. You got Judge and Sanchez. You got starters like Savarino and CC Sabathia. I know that the Twins are really big hitters. I think 309 home runs this season might have set a record. You got Barrio and Odorizzi, who are two great starters. But I think when it comes down to it, the tradition of the Bronx Bombers, they're going to take it, okay? I think that in this new stadium, it's going to be quite a series to watch, because I think this Yankee Stadium's a little bit smaller, and with the hitting power of the Twins, you might see a home run derby in this one. It's going to be a very, very exciting series, but all in all, I think the Yankees are going to take it. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit more about the American League Championship Series. I have it lined up to be Houston and the Bronx Bombers out of New York. And I think this is going to be a historic series, okay? I think you have in Houston one of the most incredible lineups that Major League Baseball has ever seen. But then again, with the Yankees, you have the new stadium, you have an incredible lineup of both younger players and established veterans. And for whatever reason, I just believe in my heart that the Bronx Bombers of New York are going to come out and they are going to be in the World Series and perhaps win another one. But no disrespect to Houston, an unbelievable team. As I said, player for player on paper, perhaps the best lineup that Major League Baseball has ever seen. But I just think that the Yankees are going to come out of the American League and go to the World Series. Okay, switching over to the National League side, the National League pennant, I see the Dodgers facing off against the Braves, and I see this one here going to the Dodgers. And then I think you're set up for a good old-fashioned slugfest and a good old-fashioned dogfight between the Bronx Bombers and the old Brooklyn Dodgers. And this year, I think the Brooklyn Dodgers in their third straight year in the finals, but I think this year you're going to see them come home with the championship ring. And my hat is coming off to the Brooklyn Dodgers, and we're saying congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers on this championship. So my prediction here on Payton Priv TV from Phil Priv is that the Los Angeles / Brooklyn Dodgers are going to be the 2019 World Series champions. Payton, it's been a pleasure doing another show with you here on Payton Priv TV. We miss you here at the home studios, but I went into your dressing room and some guy was in there rummaging around. I don't know what he was doing in there, but when we left, came across this helmet and this pair of glasses.
Do you believe this? Do you believe this? I'm in a different state, and this kid Kachiv is still raiding my dressing room. Come on!
We have to finish the show, okay? Because we have a bold prediction alert. I predict the Washington Nationals will unseat the Dodgers in a 5-game series as revenge from 2016 when the Dodgers did the same to the Nationals. Us Nationals fans, we don't forget. I think that the Nats have the 1-2-3 punch and the resiliency to beat from a statistical perspective, superior Los Angeles team, because anything can happen.
And that's why they play the game. Now we're almost out of time here on the show, but before we wrap it up, I'd just like to ask you, Jack, what 2 teams do you see moving on to the World Series? And of those 2, who do you see coming out as the victor and this year's world champion?
Well, for me, Payton, it's got to be the Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves. I want to say that, there's a lot of really good teams this year. I think looking at this took me a really long time to kind of figure out who was going to go where, but for me, I just kept coming back to the Astros, their rotation, their lineup. It's electric. It's something that I just don't think, even though they've been there before and they're starting to become a known quantity, I think they've got it. And the Atlanta Braves, I think, are a little bit under the radar. Is a team that can just find ways to win. So I think that matchup will ultimately result with a victory for the Houston Astros. I'd say maybe 6 games. What about you, Payton?
Personally, I feel as though, yes, the Houston Astros might as well be, they're built airtight in all areas. They're probably the best fundamental baseball team in the world right now. They're built to win championships. They're built up better than anybody else right now. However, I feel like if you take it to the conference finals, you take that ALCS, I think the Yankee pinstripe can take them 16 rounds and come out the victor and wind up being the American League champions this year. And then obviously coming out of the National League,
they're gonna have to hammer them.
Absolutely, it's gonna be a slugfest if it comes to that. But I think the Yankees are gonna come out victorious. And then in the National League, I feel as though the Los Angeles Dodgers will be the National League champions for the 3rd year in a row. And I think now is the time to shine. This year is their year. The Los Angeles Dodgers will win the World Series over the New York Yankees and avenge all those titles that they lost to the Bronx Bombers of years past. And that is, in fact, all the time we have here on today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed the MLB postseason this year. I'm Payton Privitera.
And I'm Jack Tongour.
And I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to this Season 2 premiere episode of Payton Priv TV.
But wait, before you go, we have a breaking development.
With their stunning 4-3 comeback victory over the Milwaukee Brewers, the Washington Nationals will advance to face the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League Division Series. It appeared all hope was lost for this playoff-cursed team, but the Nats battled back to load the bases for none other than Juan Soto. In what is perhaps the biggest moment of his 20-year-old life, Soto ripped a single right under the glove of Trent Grisham, and the rest is history. You better watch out, LA, because this team may go all the way.